nice to see a nice big crowd of you all here. I don't think that our next guest needs any introduction, so I'm just going to say, please join me on stage, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Okay. So this is CoinDesk. We're a media company. We had some news today, so as a good journalist, I'm going to just go straight at this with a question. For those who don't know, one of the candidates that Mr. Kennedy is running against was this conviction of 34 counts of felony. And that is unprecedented in American political history. So I'd be really keen to know what that means for you, and how you interpret that as a factor in this race.
Well, first of all, I'd say this was probably the weakest case of the cases that people have brought against him. And I think my belief is that it will end up helping President Trump. Among America, a large part of the American public who believes that the judicial system and the enforcement system have been weaponized against politically. And that's bad for our country. And I think it's a mistake for the Democratic Party. I think the Democratic Party believes it has a candidate that can't beat President Trump, and that they need to do it in the court. I think that's bad for our country. I think it's bad for democracy, and I think it's politically going to backfire on him. You know, I'm not a fan of President Trump, so I'm running against him. I'm running against him on the issues, on what he did, the debt. He ran up an $8 trillion debt, more than all of the presidents from George Washington, George W. Bush combined. He shut down our country after promising that he was going to run America like a business. He shut down all of our businesses, 3.3 million businesses, with no due process, no just compensation, no scientific citation. He embroiled our country in foreign wars. He divided the division that we have in our country is now largely to him and President Biden, and it's not a good thing for our country. And then, his positions on the environment, et cetera, have been bad to me for our country. But I think that's what the election should be about arguing about those issues, and not trying to eliminate people. I mean, the Democratic Party is trying to eliminate me by making it impossible for me to get on all the ballots. I don't think that's democratic. I grew up in a Democratic Party. I was trying to get as many Americans as possible, get franchised, get them to vote, get them legally to vote, and now we have a Democratic Party that's trying to disenfranchise voters and to try to push candidates off with legal actions in the courtroom rather than the ballot box. And let's say they succeed in doing that. What kind of country are we left with? We're left with a country where half the people are deeply embittered and angry and feeling like they've been screwed. And I don't think that's good for our country.
This was a jury decision, right? This was a jury. This was not a judge. This was 34 counts. It was a very rapid decision. Do you yourself believe that the judicial system has been weaponized, or is your concern that there's a perception of it?
I think the federal agencies generally have been weaponized. I mean, I'm being denied Secret Service protection. The Secret Service itself said that I'm at an enhanced risk, and they had plenty of evidence that, including 4 break-ins to my house since the election occurred. By people who are mentally ill, people who have come to my events wearing guns and fake federal ID, trying to set And then, so, and I don't want to make this about me, but we've seen, very disturbing things. We saw 56 CIA agents who signed a letter to the American public saying that Hunter Biden's laptop was a Russian disinformation hoax, which they knew it was not, and that is one of the most obvious interferences with an election in this country's history by the intelligence agency, which by its charter is forbidden from doing that. I have litigation right now against President Trump that's in the Supreme Court, Kennedy versus Biden. The Twitter files, which Elon released, the other case that was brought, the companion case to my case, Murphy versus Biden, that was brought by the Missouri and Louisiana Attorney Generals, and the discovery in those cases showed that 37 hours after he took the oath of office, President Biden opened up a portal, the White House opened up a portal, forced Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google to open up portals by which the FBI, the CIA, CISA, the DHS, NIH, CDC, the IRS, and other agencies would go in and censor social media posts by Americans and remove Americans from their social media accounts, which they did to me. I had almost 1 million followers on Instagram, and they took it down at the orders of the White House. So yeah, I do think there is evidence that, when my father became Attorney General in 1961, the first week in office, he called together all the division heads, the bureau chiefs at the Department of Justice, and he said, rule number one, this department will never be used for political purposes. And we don't ask whether a defendant is a Democrat or Republican. We make no decisions based on politics because it's so important that the American public understand that the institutions of our government, the enforcement institutions, will never be used to promote one political candidate or one political party over another. And, President Biden has a bust of my father behind him at the Oval Office, which I'm grateful for. But, the weaponization of our enforcement agencies is not a good thing. And I think we ought to be able to have public debates about issues rather than have this perception that we're like a third world country that has to get rid of political candidates that we don't like using the judicial system against them. And by the way, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was a district attorney in that office. And, there's many years ago, this was 40 or 45 years ago, it's well known that district attorneys, I think it was Justin Brandeis, that a district attorney can convict a tomato if he wants to. And district attorneys are making decisions because juries tend to go with what the district attorney recommends. So, just as to your point that this was a jury decision, yeah, it was, but the district attorney exercised his discretion to bring the case.
I know we don't want to dwell on Trump. We want to move on to a lot of the issues that are pertinent to crypto here. But I'll just say one thing, and it does actually relate to the crypto perception. I mean, there is a view amongst many in this community that the one branch of government that has been